Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter, and this is James.
Hi, salutations.
And today we're talking about volume 21 of To Your Eternity. This is the last podcast episode of 2024. And interestingly enough, our first episode of this year was our To Your Eternity volume 19 discussion. So it's been
Ah,
been a great year for To Your Eternity, both
yeah,
starting this year and ending this year with it.
that's really nice, actually.
It is very nice.
3 volumes in a year. That's not too bad. Not too
Right.
shabby.
To be fair, I believe Volume 19 came out at the end of the year before, but we
Ah,
covered it on the podcast at the very beginning of this year, but
gotcha.
still very nice.
Hmm.
And so, we were introduced to Uncle Rabbit, or Captain Rabbit, at the start of the volume, and five-star Anton has made himself big and buff. Uh, then we learn about the last paradise, as well as the people without tag chips,
Mm-hmm.
known as the Lacking. Fushi's gang defeated some hunters who came to their base, and they removed their tag chips, which led them to learn that the tag chips really do contain tiny knockers.
I'll just add real quick that Fushi can't replicate these tag chips either.
Precisely, which makes sense, seeing as we knew since earlier that he can't recreate knockers. So that was a nice little connection. Fushi then searched for the Beholder's power everywhere that made sense, I guess, but he couldn't find it. And then Anton Day showed up and made a huge mess. We learned that Abel is Anton's big brother, Abel being the sunglasses guy with the gloves and whatnot, the blades, the cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Immortals then made their way to the one-star section where Fushi went to talk to Abel. Anton appeared again for an action sequence, which was interrupted by the chip maintenance time, which causes, I guess, everyone with a chip, aside from the Kyber employees, to freeze. And then Anton captured Dolly, and Tonari and Bon got caught as well. But Fushi, luckily enough, was able to escape. And the volume ends with Abel rescuing Dolly and revealing that the Mizuha clone number 32 is not dead. So that was this volume, more or less.
Yeah, I really like where this arc is heading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really liking her dystopian take on the world here.
Yeah.
And not that I am an expert on Blade Runner, but it kind of reminds me of Blade Runner and
Mm-hmm.
kind of the world that's been built there. And I had this feeling from volume 20, but I think 21 kind of shares that vibe.
That's fair, yeah.
And I really like how Abel is introduced more into the story and how it's teased into the next volume that we'll learn more about him. But
Yes.
he's just kind of been this background character that seemed suspicious in our first discussion,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that we're getting more of that. And it's I'm not gonna call it a slow burn, because there's a lot that happened here,
Yeah.
but we're finally getting into understanding who Abel is. So anyway,
Precisely.
that's what I want to
Yeah.
say.
Precisely. Abel especially is starting to become really interesting, and I'm so curious to learn more about him, hopefully in the next volume.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess without further ado, let's dive into these characters. And this time we got spoiled, I suppose, with a bunch of Fushi content, or at least compared to the previous volume. It was a bunch of Fushi
That's true.
content.
That's true.
So let's talk about Fushi first.
You could say we were Fushi lacking in the previous volume.
Oh, we
Eh?
we were. We absolutely were. Yeah,
Uh,
life without Fushi in our veins is now worth living,
no,
or
no.
something.
I mean,
Well,
that the previous volume was still good, but yeah, no.
oh,
This
it was.
it was great. It was great to see Fushi out there still trying to help people in any way he can.
Yeah, very, very, very nice. Um, Marching Gugu I think, made a pretty good point early on in this volume about the Beholder's power being underground. So thanks to Fushi having probably made more or less the whole world into his at this point. Not all of it, but I think a lot of of it,
Mm-hmm.
he should be able to know where it is, or at the very least be able to feel where when Kaibara takes it.
Mm.
Later, a little later, it was proved that yeah, Fushi can't actually locate it very easily.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think it's that there's a decent chance that he can at least, if Kaibara would find it at some point, maybe Fushi at least would be able to notice that.
Right.
But yeah, obviously that remains to be seen. But yeah, I think they made a good point about that, because this volume, I think, established pretty clearly that Fushi is, or can be, more or less everywhere that where he wants to at this point,
Mm-hmm.
because he has made a big part of the world his own, even the high up parts in like the 5-star area.
Right. As we saw him traveling like back and forth in between that area, just kind of surveying everything.
Right.
Real quick about the point of the sphere, they kind of presumed that the beholder or Satoru, I forget
Oh
his
yeah, no,
name.
he was called Satoru when he was a boy.
It was Satoru, that he would have hid it in a place that only they would really know about.
Hmm.
Um, Although I'm not sure if Fushi believed that or not, I can't remember. He's never really had the greatest opinions on of of Satoru.
Yeah, and that continues here.
Yeah, I'm sure it's softened a little bit, but still, yeah, I think
Mm.
it lingers.
Yeah.
Dad angst. But anyway, I wonder if it's just under their noses in some sense.
Right.
I can't help but feel like when we figure out where it is, if we do,
Hmm.
if and when we do, we'll kind of just like slap our foreheads like, oh,
I
of
hope
course it was
so.
there.
Ah, I really hope
Um,
so.
yeah. So that's kind of a underlying mystery to this arc currently. I like it.
Definitely. But yeah, Fushi makes frequent visits to this village, or maybe there's a couple villages in the last paradise, as they call it, this area without outside of the, I guess, organized world, or whatever you want to say, where people without stars live. And I think a large portion of those are people without even a tag chip. So Fushi helps them out, and that's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as we were talking about a little bit in the summary, there was a point in the past when Fushi did revive one of those people, but that made them into a lacking, I guess, by default, because he wasn't able to represent or recreate that tag chip. And to the people in this world, if you don't have a tag chip, that's a disaster if you don't have one. Even to the people outside, which actually surprised me a little bit, because
Yeah.
I was somehow expecting that the people outside of the main society wouldn't really care about that, but they still do, which was interesting and kind of, yeah, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit weird. But I guess it further kind of goes to like a kind of your comparison to like a dystopian kind of future thing,
Mm-hmm.
where the people are so obsessed with whatever it is, and in this case it's the tag chips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also was wondering about that. Is it because these people were born with it, and that not having it anymore is almost not having an arm, or so they're not having just missing a part of yourselves?
Right.
Is it as simple as that, or is it something more complex where, because as we've established that the knockers are in these tags, is there some sort of manipulation going on with the knockers into people that almost makes it not an addiction, but you know
Mm.
a habit, or something like, maybe that's the same thing. But point is, you can't help but wonder if there's some foul play there, but maybe it's just more so in the brainwashing and the dystopian future that they're living in, where they just don't want to live without that feeling of having a chip. Even though I don't know if these guys can even use that as no stars.
Right, exactly. That was my thinking as well. Like as far as I've understood it anyway, it shouldn't have any use to them, like practically.
Right. But I you know, maybe they all have this hope that someday they'll be able to get another star.
Oh man. That's a good point. but really tragic.
Yeah.
Because they seem to have a decent life out in the village. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. Even though they're like living their best lives where they are, I guess there's just this idea in the back of their minds that one day I'll get out of here. I'll get back to
Mm.
living the good life. That said, it feels like only having 1 star is not great. Like you're kind of living in impoverished type circumstances, even though I guess you have some rights of eternal life, or I guess yeah, you have eternal life. Like that's the kicker.
Right in the 1 star area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I guess that one part of it is just so appealing that those who have none wish they had it.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, he brought them back to life, so they technically would still have eternal life, although maybe they wouldn't put that together per se.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating because this world that Kaibara has created, it really, and we probably talked something along these lines last time as well, but like it really is along the lines of Fushi's dream for the world when he took over from the Beholder. The Beholder created a flawed world where people would die because that's what intrigued him. Like that was different from what he was used to. But Fushi, having grown up in a world where people die and it's filled with pain and death, he seemed keen on creating a world where people would not die. Now, it's probably not quite what Kuiper has created here, but it is still interesting how there are still similarities.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'm sure over time they've come to understand, or at least they they believe they understand what Fushi wants, and maybe that's
Right.
why Kaibara and the Guardians kind of transition into that world.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey Fushi, we're creating that world for you, what you've always wanted,
Yeah,
and now we're here. So
exactly.
I just want to touch on the lacking real quick, if that's okay.
Absolutely. I wanted to do that as well, so go on.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, the lacking are people who are not born with a chip. They weren't created genetically or by in a lab or however they described it. They were born naturally, but it means they didn't have a tag chip. And it seems that those people, I don't know if they go into hiding while they're in the tree, or they're immediately expelled because they figure it out, or I'm not sure exactly how it works.
Mm.
Um, we could talk about that a little later, but regardless, these people are basically treated as trash if they're found out, and they're left to die. And unfortunately, we see an example of one of those people at the beginning of the volume. And Fushi says something very sweet. Said, even though he's passed away, the poor thing.
Yeah.
He says, "You weren't lacking. You were born out of the love of two people." I don't know. There's just something very beautiful about not just that phrase, but him saying it. He
Exactly, yeah.
he's understanding that concept, which even in the previous arc, I don't know if he would have. Maybe I think he would have like said, "Yeah, I think I can kind of get that," but I don't think he would have been able to tell someone and reassure them that
No.
um,
Mm-hmm.
the concept of love.
Yes, I reacted very similarly to that. I wondered how Fushi's understanding of love has progressed since the end of the modern arc.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, now I'm really curious. Has Fushi himself experienced some kind of love in a way that he hasn't before, maybe? Or,
Mm.
maybe romantic love? Because it's the romantic type of love that he is referring to here.
Yeah.
So, has he experienced that himself? And did we miss that?
I know. It's like that's what I've been waiting for, and we totally glossed over it.
Yeah.
Now we have, you know, what, 4 more volume? Wait, is it? Yeah, it's like 6 volumes an arc. Is that what it is?
Usually, although the modern arc was 7 volumes, so I
So
guess.
6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So we have at least 4 or 5 more volumes in this arc to maybe even explore that. Which I said in the previous volume that I kind of gave up hope on on that being a thing, but this does give me pause into that. I'm not for sure thinking that's going to happen, but maybe there is something where we see some progress with that. Still not boding well for my Fushi Tonari ship, though. But I guess you never know.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know. But regardless, I think it would be great to see Fushi's thinking and all that, um, or why he came to that, or how he came to that reasoning, and maybe even act upon it himself. If there is someone like that for him.
For sure. Moving on a little bit, Fushi overheard that Dolly and or her tag chip contains classified information, and so because
Mm-hmm.
of that, and because Dolly fell from Kaibara, presumably, that is now their destination, in hopes of finding answers.
Yeah,
So it's nice to have an objective in the story right now,
that's true. That's true.
and how that's been established. Because I feel like the first one, the object, sure, there was an objective to find the orb, but there
Right.
wasn't really a way, or we didn't know of a way to go about it.
Right.
But now there is at least this, so that is very nice, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could argue that the first volume's objective was to be introduced to the world and then
That's fair.
find Fushi. Yeah.
True, true.
And eventually they did that.
Mhm.
But you're right. The orb kind of seems to be the one of the underlying plots that will carry the story. But this one where understanding who Dolly is, uh, going to her origin, seems to be the plot that's in the forefront, the main plot, really.
Mhm. And I really got a kick out of seeing Fushi like uh, get by the security checkpoint with a truck. That scene was really fun to me, and especially seeing Fushi act that way.
It was pretty funny.
uh,
Poor Miss R. I mean,
yeah, it worked out. He got a bath and food and sleep after that, I guess.
yeah, he kind of deserves it. Kind of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll take that one. The small one. Oh no. She's terrible. Oh no, don't do that one. No, no.
Oh man. It was so funny, yeah, because Fushi was like freaking out partially, but he was also like haggling at the same time. Like he managed to keep up that front. It was really great.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. A bit after that, Fushi went to the fifth level where the Mizuha clones supposedly are, and I was a bit confused at this part.
Mm-hmm.
I have a way that I do read it, and it's that although I'm not like super confident about it, but I read it like Fushi having great anxiety over seeing Mizuha's face again, even though, well, obviously it's not Mizuha, but still seeing her face, which also is more or less the same face as Hayase, it disturbs him to some extent, and that's why he acted so strange initially, I believe. So I think he was relieved that the door was locked, and then I guess he didn't even try any further. He just turned around, went back down, and then lied about what happened up there. Was my interpretation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, and a little later in the volume, it seemed like there was an implication that Fushi had been up there as a bird at some point before,
Mm-hmm.
and he had seen the Mizuha clones as well as Dolly, I guess, up there. And
Yeah.
I think it was at that point, or at least I connected that part to the earlier bit where Fushi saw the soldiers or the guards that were saying, "Yes, sir, they've been executed,"
Mm-hmm.
or they've all been executed. I connected it to that because they both had like this black behind the panels, as if he had seen them say that immediately, like kind of shortly after he had seen the clones. Perhaps, but I don't know exactly. How do you read it or connect things?
Yeah. I think he's having a minor flashback to just a later point in the recent time or whatever,
Yeah.
to where he felt a lot of pain and he knew where it was coming from, and he already knew that there were a bunch of Mizuha clones there in that laboratory when they happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so he goes there and finds out that they were all dead, all killed, exterminated, or whatever the term they used. And the other flashback of him with the bird was way before that. That was the first time he had seen them. I'm pretty certain.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. And where I get a little fuzzy is, why he doesn't put more effort into searching for them besides just, you know, lightly trying to open the door. Um, and then why he lies about it.
Right.
I that's what I think, more importantly, that's what perplexes me.
Yeah.
I don't know what or who he's protecting by saying that, or by keeping that a secret.
Right.
Now, did what I say differ at all from what you were saying?
No, I think we did read it more or less the same. I think it's maybe it's not as unclear as it was initially, or as confusing as it was initially.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I made myself interpret it in a way that made sense, and it seems you interpreted it similarly. And I guess after having heard that, I think it probably is a fair way to interpret it. I guess I was just kind of second guessing myself, but yeah, no, this probably makes sense. But yeah, why Fushi would lie is
I
a
don't.
bit strange. I guess it could be that it's just that he is too, like, it hurts him too much to talk about it. So that's why he's avoiding it, maybe.
Or he's not wanting to. Well, okay, here I'll throw this out here. He when we read about or when we see him lie, we
Hmm.
don't know that he had already met Dolly before. But now that we have the context that he had seen Dolly with the clones, he knows that this doll is very much connected with them. And so maybe his lie was really to protect Dolly from any sort of emotional damage
Oh yeah.
if
Ah,
necessary.
that's a fair point. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because his lie is very much uplifting and optimistic
Yeah.
for Dolly. So
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
Oh man, it's so sad.
It is really sad. I mean, that's one of those cliffhanger things I really want to learn more about. Like, why the
Uh-huh.
crap did they exterminate him? Like, what's going
Yeah, what?
on?
Yeah, exactly. What the hell is Kybura doing? Like, why in the first place are they creating Mizuha clones, and why in the second place are they killing them?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I
Ugh.
mean, are they all gone, or is this just one set of Mizuha clones in just one of the trees?
Precisely
Are
right.
there?
I could see there
I
being a
don't know.
bunch of clones, like, and like a bunch of groups of clones or whatever. But well, at the very least, it was implied that number 32 is not dead. Well, at least Abel seems to think that at least she is still alive somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But my goodness. Well, I really loved a little bit later how Fushi went to see Abel in the form of Yuki, since obviously Yuki is a symbol of peaceful resolutions to Fushi. So that was a
Yeah,
very sweet
that was
little
good.
little
That was
touch.
very good.
And how he was able
Yeah,
to introduce himself to Abel. Even though it didn't lead to much in the moment between the two of them, he was at least able to introduce himself before they parted ways. And I
that's
think
true
thanks
too.
to that, they've opened up the way to, like, basically a future for communication and collaboration a little bit.
Yeah. On the downside, when Anton casually pushed him against a wall,
Mm.
um, we lost Yuki in the process. So does that mean we're not going to see Yuki for the rest of this arc until they destroy Anton's chip? Is that is that basically what I'm understanding?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused about that because, like,
I'm pretty sure he lost Yuki's form.
it seemed like that. Yeah, it seemed like that. But like before this volume, I was always under the impression that it was just like the knockers that could take Yuki, or could take Fushi's forms away.
Yeah,
Um,
because it's the chip.
and I guess, yeah, I guess because there are knockers in the chip.
Yeah. Yeah,
that yeah, that's probably fair.
and that's what happened with when you had the immortal hunters come down to Last Paradise when he shot oh gosh,
Chabo, right?
Chabi
Chabo.
Chabo in the head. He lost Chabo as well, but then they destroyed the knocker and then he got Chabo back.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So okay, yeah, then it does make sense, I guess. Yeah, because they have knockers in their chips, and I guess in by extension, I guess the knockers exist throughout their body in some sense, since they're altering the bodies.
Yeah, I guess even the bullets and everything. I don't know
Oh yeah.
how their guns work in that case, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
everything they do
Mm.
is influenced, at least if it's manipulated,
Mhm.
uh, by the chip. So it's
Yeah,
very very fascinating, which it makes it quite dangerous for Fushi to interact with this world
indeed.
in that way.
Yeah. That is very interesting. And thank you for helping me get that cleared up in my head. But yeah, yeah, precisely. Poor Yuki is gone for the moment.
Yeah,
But yeah, what else is there on Fushi?
Fushi felt something important. At least I think that's how he put it when he met Dolly for the first time. It was in that kind of mind meeting he had with some of the friends, the forms he takes after Yuki got taken. Well, actually, after he got kidnapped, really, he's kind of like, I don't know, he's talking to himself or he's talking to his imagination of what he expected his friends to say. Anyway, point is they mention Dolly and they say there's something important, or they I guess they kind of argue is like is it really that important? And Fushi is pretty adamant there's something important about it. I don't know, and so I guess I'm just curious to see what that importance is, and maybe that could have been saved for the Dolly conversation. But regardless, th- there's a reason why Fushi is okay with everything that's going on surrounding Dolly. Why he was so quick to accept her in the previous volume and things like that. I mean, clearly he
Hmm.
had seen her and he felt something about her.
Precisely. And I wonder if he knows what that something is, or
Hmm.
if it's just like a vibe, a gut feeling
Yeah,
at this point.
I have a feeling that it may just be vibes,
Hmm. I feel similarly.
but maybe he has an idea of what it could be, and he just hasn't articulated it yet.
That's
And maybe we'll get
fair.
that in future volume. But one other thing I wanted to point out, since we're on it, is that this is before she fell that he felt that. So regardless if something changed between that moment and when she fell, the special something about Dolly was there when he first met her.
Oh wait, sorry. What do you mean? What was before she fell?
So that was when before she fell from the fifth tier or whatever, into the junkyard. Obviously, she had met Fushi very briefly, and that's when Fushi had felt something. And so what I'm saying is that she wasn't special, right before getting falling off or something and losing her memory. It's not because of that. She was quote unquote special way back then as well, for whatever reason when she supposedly had her memories.
You mean because of Fushi's reaction when he saw the doll initially?
Yeah, and based on what he said.
Well, his conversation with his internal friends or whatever you want to say,
Oh, that's a great way of putting it.
I view that as that happening in real time, like in
Right.
present day.
I agree.
So then I guess I'm not understanding you quite.
Well, so in that conversation, inner dialogue with his friends,
Mm,
oh my gosh, why can't I remember her name? Hana
mm.
says it's not the kind of feeling you put into words, but it's been there since the first time we met, and they're talking about Dolly, and that's when you get the flashback to the first time they met.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha.
So, in that way, he's felt that special something about her
Mm,
even all the way back then. And I
right.
think the reason why the reason why I bring this all up is that in the previous volume we were, at least I was under the impression that maybe Dolly was just a regular doll before something happened to her and then she fell from the junkyard.
Mm.
You know, like there wasn't a whole lot of time between that. That makes sense. But maybe still something had to have happened in order for her to have this memory loss. But regardless, Fushi seems to believe that there's something about her even before all that. That's all I wanted to say.
Right, right. I wonder if I mean I hope it's something more, and it probably is something more, but I wonder if it could just be the fact that the doll looks like the doll that he saw back in Bon and Kahaku's times, and that he thought, oh, March would love this doll, and like that
Uh,
type of thing. It's probably not, but I just wanted to mention the possibility of it.
yeah,
Because Fuji had an attachment to the way that doll looked the moment he saw it back then.
that's true.
Also,
Yeah, no, it's worth mentioning,
mm,
but I don't know. I mean, the Kanitaro was a design that was out there in the wild, so I kind of feel like
mm.
that design for the doll could have been out there in the wild as well.
For sure, for sure.
Um,
But the Kanetaro design was never all that appealing to Fushi specifically.
no, but it was still important,
That's fair.
like from the past or whatever. But no,
That's true.
that's a good point. Good point. Anyway, yeah. So that's I guess there was more Dolly discussion than anything, but
Well, it is still from Fushi's perspective, so that makes sense.
yeah,
But that's all on Fushi?
I just want to say that I still appreciate or I don't know if I can say still, the fact that he doesn't want to do strategies where they kill themselves
Yeah.
as much. I don't know if that was happening in the previous arc. I think it was.
Yeah.
That was part of his anxiety was not letting them die again or experience any sort of pain. But it seems that up until this arc, these chapters, he had kind of let them do whatever, die in captivity. I'll bring it back.
Hmm.
Um, but he still is very not okay with uh, that being their first choice of action. It's like no, no, let's value ourselves a little bit more.
Exactly. It seems like Fushi over the years he's going up and down on that, like or like back and forth on that. Like, is
Yeah,
it morally okay? Is it not morally okay? Like, because it's been kind of back and forth with it. And I guess at the moment he's at a point where it's not okay. But
I guess that's very human of him.
yeah, yeah, that is fair.
That's all I want. That's it.
All right, then let's move on and talk about Dolly next. I really liked how she kind of mimicked what Fushi did to that lacking person who had died. Like she did kind of the same
Yeah.
thing and like telling him that he had nothing to be ashamed of since he was also, since he was born out of the love of two people. Like Kanitaro didn't seem to see the point in it because he's already dead, but Dolly seemed to see a point in doing what Fushi did, so she did the same thing, and I thought it was just really sweet. I thought,
I agree. I agree. To me, that seems to point at more of her humanity.
right, for
Not to
sure.
say Kanitaro isn't. I mean, but
Oh,
Kanitaro is just this advanced AI. No
yeah.
offense,
No,
but
I mean, right, he
you
is.
know, although he does carry deep programming feelings for his mommy. So I guess
True.
that's something. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, uh, that was a very good moment for Dolly.
Hmm. She also recalled something about her objective that she has to tell them something about that,
Right.
but who them is unknown at this point.
Yeah. What her who?
Could it be the Immortals, Fushi and the Immortals, or are them somebody else? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we really don't know.
And, yeah,
Uh,
who are them, and what is it that she wants to tell them, or that she should tell them?
exactly.
A lot of questions there.
Exactly. I mean, it's easy to speculate that it was the immortals,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Maybe she's needs to go tell other Mizuha clones. Maybe there's a somehow outside of Fushi's awareness a group of people that they're in contact with. I don't know. It's just
Hmm.
I'm not quick to assume it means the immortals exactly. But who knows? It could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Just excited to find out.
Yeah. We had an interesting set of events where her memory would sometimes come back after being turned off.
Precisely.
Um, I mean, that in itself was quite comical how it all went down.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not guaranteed that when she shuts down and comes back on, that she'll remember something. But it
Hmm.
does seem to allow the memories to come back when that does happen. And when we see some interesting things in those memories,
We do.
like the entire group of Mizuha clones.
Or maybe it's just a small part of the group of Mizuha clones. Maybe they're like, maybe it's like
Oh,
much bigger than that even.
fair,
But sorry, yeah, there's still a bunch of the clones, yeah.
right? Yeah, entire was the wrong word that I didn't even realize. Like, oh yeah, you're right.
Unless it was the
They
entire
could
group,
have.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's just
uh,
one group. Yeah, gosh, how many? I will say, since we mentioned that,
uh-huh.
there were a couple times when you got shots to the laboratory that I wondered, is the lab and everyone working in the lab a clone? Like, are clones cloning each other here?
Yeah.
I know it was hard. It was hard to see really.
Uh-huh. And are there also clones like in those like guard or soldier suits, the ones that said, "Oh, we've
Oh
exterminated them all."
man,
Are they also clones? Like, I don't
that'd be
know.
wild.
That would be pretty wild.
I
My
mean, if they were just
goodness.
clones of random people, then it's like whatever. But if they were Mizuha clones, like, oh my gosh,
Hmm. Right.
what is happening?
But it was interesting to get to the idea that these dreams are not dreams but memories, which makes sense obviously with what Kanitaro has been saying all along, that dolls do not dream. Well, and yeah, to be fair, Dolly probably isn't like an AI dolls like Kanitaro is. There's something else with Dolly, to be fair. So maybe she could
Hmm.
dream. I don't know. But in this case, it seems like it is memories coming back to her rather than dreams.
Right.
Um, and I think that is further supported by the fact that she receives, like, whenever she receives the visions, her self identity system is steadily restored. As I brought up last time, by the end of volume 20, it had reached 1.02%. And it continued to increase in this volume. And at the end of here, we landed at 2.88%. So we got a decent part of the way, I guess, comparatively, at nearly 3% now.
Yeah,
So yeah, the mystery of Dolly continues to be fascinating.
for sure. I definitely have more theories about Dolly that I'll share later on. But
Nice.
um, it's been really fun to get these little pieces here and there and seeing how they could potentially connect.
Right.
I mean, I think at this point you know it's clear that the Mizal clones have something to do with Dolly. Um,
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we've seen her with them in the past, and Abel told Dolly that she was made by number 32.
right. You know, especially the fact that Dolly seemed to be just, I assume, walking around or just existing out in the open in the lab. So it wasn't necessarily that Dolly was a secret, you know,
That's true.
at least within the lab.
Precisely. Mm,
So that's just something to keep in mind, I guess.
definitely.
And also looking through the volume just now, I do think all those people that were seemed to be doing some sort of experimenting while Fushi was a bird looking, they all seem to be clones of Mizuha.
Mm,
I mean, I can't confirm exactly each one, but there was a close up on a couple of them, and they definitely had Mizuha's face. So I think it's a lab of clones.
yeah, that is fascinating.
Very fascinating.
But yeah, is that all on Dolly?
Yes.
All right, then let's talk next about Anton Day. My
Oh
goodness,
boy.
this little boy got real big.
Oh gosh. Belligerence
Oh.
is the personality this month. Can't wait to see when docile or humility is the personality of the month.
Right. My goodness. And I had seen his form or the image of the big him on the backside of the volume initially because he's there behind the blurb.
Uh-huh.
But and I didn't I thought I recognized the glasses and whatnot. I felt like him, but I was like, okay, I guess he grew up or something. But
It's Buff Gojo.
but yeah, and the fact that he's still a child, it kind of scares me. Like, cause like
Yeah.
it's I think it's a scary thing. A young child with that much physical strength, like, cause he throws tantrums, such just like any little child might do, except
Mm-hmm.
he literally kills people in his fits of rage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is terrifying and disturbing.
Well, and then when he does kill someone and potentially shows any sort of remorse,
Hmm.
uh, the boss man or Uncle Rabbit would I don't really even know if he's related, but maybe he is.
Uh-huh.
Uncle Rabbit basically says, "Oh, it's fine." Like, he brushes it off or plays it down and says, "You'll kill plenty more people. Don't worry, son." It's like what?
Uh-huh.
Um, it's that moment where I just felt that he needs a real adult to help him.
He does. Like, what happened to his parents? Are they around still? Like, what's up
I
with that?
I don't know. I have thoughts on all that, but at the very least, I'll say that 5 stars puts you in a different space. Um, so I imagine he's just separated from his parents.
That's
Um,
fair. I mean, yeah, at this point, but I wonder, he still seems to have like things to like friends to play with after work and stuff like that.
oh, oh, uh, he's not playing. I'll tell you that. He's he,
Yeah.
I Oh, we'll talk about that in a sec.
All right.
Um,
um.
but I just want to say I was completely wrong about him. I thought maybe there was some sort of scenario where him and the sunglasses guy, who we now know as Abel, were in cahoots in some way. I don't know if you remember that from the previous discussion.
Mm, mm.
Or maybe they were working with the immortals somehow, but clearly that's not the case. But I still think Anton has a lot of potential as a character to follow. And he's not just gonna be this terrible brat the entire time. I don't think.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, I also see that potential in him.
Yeah, but it is interesting to see this 5 stars go to his head, and it's kind of like the kid who got rich off of a meme or some scam, Bitcoin or something. It's like,
Right.
well, you just got to work hard and invest in a small loan, or it's
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that's a big reason why he's the way he is right now. Just there's no one really to keep him in check. No
Right.
one to tell him no
Yeah.
or to guide him, and so like we were saying, it would be nice to have an actual adult. And unfortunately, I just don't think his brother can be that right now, at least.
Yeah, like someone just slightly laughs at something that he doesn't like that them they laugh at and he destroys a wall. Like
Gosh.
uh yeah, like 'cause I didn't even the first time I read it I barely noticed the slight laugh there at the beginning.
Yeah,
Uh
it's subtle.
like you
It
laughed and
is
like
really subtle.
did he laugh? And I went back and okay, there was a slight little brief laugh. Uh
When you said you laughed, and um, even when the laugh happened, I thought he was laughing at Anton's body, like the shape or
oh.
something like. But no, he was laughing at the fact that
Mm,
Tonali got away.
right. Yeah.
Um, Either way, I'd be upset too, and I definitely blow down a door. Yeah, totally reasonable reaction.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah, but yeah, I think he's a fun addition to the story right now.
Yeah.
But I don't like that Anton seems to be a little bit thirsty for Tornari now.
Oh gosh. Oh boy.
Don't like that.
She raised him up pretty good, I gotta say.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I I feel like that was pretty deliberate on her part.
yeah, it probably could have been. Yeah, you're right.
Kind of a kind of a quick thinking
Mm,
type situation.
that's fair. Yeah.
Um, I mean, or I guess it could be that she just naturally, naturally just like that. But I don't know. I feel like Tonari is one to think quickly and be able to manipulate someone like that.
True. True. See, I guess we'll see if that is a plot thread that's going to continue in any way. I mean, because she is kidnapped now, maybe she will use a similar tactic to actually escape or something.
Maybe. Kind of hard when you're gagged, but
True. Yeah,
we'll see.
we shall see. But anything else on Anton?
Did you pick up the Shining reference?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Another manga that we cover with the Shining reference.
Yes. Yeah. That is great. 2 times now.
It's very in right now.
I like that. I like that very much. All right. Next, let's talk about Anton's brother Abel Day. So we learned that he is lacking, and I find that very fascinating since he's Anton's brother, obviously, and Anton is not lacking. And
Right.
I guess we don't know for sure, but let's make the assumption that it's the same 2 parents. So,
Yeah.
like, they would have initially made a child out of love, or, well, out of sex, at the very least. And that would have been, I guess, an illegal child. Is that fair to say?
I don't know.
It seems like in this world you're not allowed to exist within the tree cities unless you have a tag chip. Um, so it seems shady, at least in some way, according to the laws of these cities. But then a few years later, they or they went to Kaibara and made them, and let them make them a another child, and a legal one this time, or whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting how the same 2 parents supposedly went from doing one thing to doing another thing. And I'm kind of curious to see what the story behind that is.
Oh yes, I'm very eager. As much as I'm curious about Dolly's thing, and yes, I want to know about that. Abel has become kind of my major interest right now in the story. Just
Mm,
who he is, what his connection with Number 32 is, and also how he came to be. Um,
indeed.
and maybe we won't get all that in the next volume. Maybe that will happen over time, but I am very eager to find out.
Right. Very.
Real quick, before we continue on, I don't think I said this in our discussion last time, but when I was listening to our discussion, months ago,
Hmm.
I had this idea that what if the sunglasses guy was Anton's brother?
Ah.
And I I typed it in the Discord chat, but never hit send.
Oh no. Oh no.
And I went back because I want to be like, "Ha, I knew it."
Ah.
And it was sitting there just waiting for me to press send. It's like, "No!"
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh,
moral of the
that's
story is trust your gut, press send, and deal with the consequences afterwards. No,
wow.
so I'm glad to see that prediction of mine that I swear happened
I believe
came
you.
true. And I like that we have this dynamic here.
Mm,
And so it makes me go back to the very first chapter of volume 20,
right.
where we see not only Anton's birth, but Abel holding him as well.
Yeah, I went back and found that as well, and it's like the same glasses and everything.
Yeah, same glasses. Look, it looks like he has the same outfit as when he was gonna go to school in that flash or in that
Oh, like from the preview in this volume?
yeah, from the preview.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, just very fun to see that. But then you look at the parents, and they look as posh as they can be.
Mm.
People in upper class who would be clearly cloning their child. So then
Yeah.
why why is Abel a thing?
I wonder if they got like a, and I guess this is slightly speculation, but it's very spontaneous thought. If their parents gained wealth recently at that point in time, so they didn't have that upper class status or slash wealth at the time when they conceived Abel.
Yeah, that was my thinking as well. That
Mm.
or going to be my speculation that their parents, the Day family, must have started off at meager means.
Right.
Now I don't know if it's possible for the parents to be lacking and then get to the point where they can, you know, have a child like Anton.
That's interesting.
I mean, I feel like if you're able to use their system, the Kaibata system,
Uh-huh.
and be dressed like they are, I think you have to have a tag, be able to have stars.
Right. I would think
I
so
I
too.
yeah, and it doesn't seem like you can get that after you're born, unless you're wearing it as a necklace, as we see
Mm.
Abel has it in this volume.
Yeah.
Um.
Huh.
So anyway, yeah, there's just a lot of interesting points
Oh yeah.
around him, and I just can't wait to see his backstory and how it all connects, and then how it also will affect Anton
Mm.
when I'm sure he'll eventually find out the truth about his brother.
Precisely. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
But by the way, we were talking earlier or before the recording about what their names are, because when it seems to be between family members, and I guess this includes the Uncle Rabbit guy. Uh, Abel is 80 and Anton is Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Strange nicknames for names that were already short to begin with, so I don't
Yeah.
entirely understand or stand that.
Mm.
But I don't know. I guess for whatever reason they have that. Maybe it's a term of endearment to show that they're actually family. I don't know.
Right. Actually, it reminds me of something that occurs in Sweden, in Sweden, and maybe in other countries as well. But I can't speak for those. But I know at least here in Sweden, in it seems to be a trend mostly in like kind of upper class families,
Oh,
where the parents they use like like various nicknames for their child, and sort of similar to like 80 ish. And they just continue using those. Oh, it's almost like childish nicknames for whatever reason.
interesting.
That they just continue to use when referring to their child throughout that child's entire life. It's like Bobo or like little things like that.
Hmm.
Tutu. Or, I don't know. It's like weird things. I don't know. Cannot relate. but
Yeah,
but who knows what the reasoning here is.
I don't know. I mean, here in America, we have rich people naming their child after numbers and uh, X and things like that.
My
But,
goodness, yes.
I mean,
Uh,
it's to each their own.
yeah, yeah.
But no, just want to throw that out there in case there was any confusion. But I think we're
Mm,
pretty set on their names being Abel and Anton.
right. That is most likely their real names.
Now
Uh,
I couldn't help but think about the biblical name of Abel,
ah.
uh, Cain and Abel being a couple brothers. Now in that story, Cain kills his own brother after being tempted by the devil. and then is cast out.
Oh.
Um, or is he killed or cast out? I can't remember. But I don't know if that's going to be a parallel that she'll try to make here. But you name someone Abel or Cain, and you can't escape it. Um, I certainly wouldn't mind something like that. It could be interesting to see Anton betray his brother
Mm.
in some way, and maybe that turns into something for him. Um, but I'm also open to it not being any sort of relation to that at all.
Right, right. But it's still fair to point out. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, and it's speculated by the characters in the story that Abel was the one who gave Dolly her chip, and like maybe he
Mm-hmm.
did, but I don't know. I didn't personally feel like that had to be the case. At the very least, obviously, we know that he's a friend of Dolly's owner, number 32.
Right.
But but yeah, yeah. Again, we'll find out next volume hopefully, or at least in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting that he also has a tag that's as a necklace. Not
Right.
not an actual tag. I guess you would need one in order to survive as a lacking, and so I'm curious in what way he's able to use that besides just getting through security, um,
Mm.
or things like that. Is he actually able to affect his body with that? Because he gets hit by a bear at one point.
True, but he
Um,
was kind of out of
he
it
was
after
in
that.
pain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it wasn't pain, but
Mm.
he was able to get up eventually. So I don't know.
True, true. I still think though that he probably doesn't have any of those perks. And the fact that he survived is, I guess, due to him having trained a lot, and the fact that he's a manga character, just in general.
Yeah, man. Well,
Um,
yeah, he is a manga character, but you're right. I mean, they constantly refer to him as a giant man, and
mm,
it's not necessarily Anton they're talking about. They're talking about Abel, and so the boy was eating something to get that big. Is what I was saying. It's like I don't know what sort of training he went through, but man, it must have been pretty intense.
yeah, yeah. My goodness. But yes, is that all on him?
Yep.
Then let's move on to Captain Rabbit or Uncle Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit. He is maybe Anton and Abel's uncle. I'm probably gonna believe that he is actually their uncle.
Yeah, I guess so.
I know you could call someone uncle even if they're not technically uncle, but I don't know. The fact that he uses those nicknames for them, I think kind of
Right.
is the main kind of indicator for me that they are related. So that's what I'm choosing to think at the moment anyway.
Yeah.
And he works for Kaibara, and he's also quite the jerk.
He's
Yeah.
pretty despicable.
And in a world where you can look however you want, this guy chose that beard. Come on.
I love it.
Like-
I love the shade coming from you. It's great. Uh,
but, but yeah, he's also a terrible influence on Anton, as you were
yeah,
talking about earlier. Like telling him that
absolutely.
killing people isn't so bad, and like this is just like a tenth of what you'll need to become a proper Kaibara
Yeah.
employee. Like he's
It's like,
terrible.
wow. Yeah, I wondered while reading it if he was, how in the previous arc the knockers had take like full control of some people,
Mm.
um, particularly the guardians, and I wondered if he was one of those individuals. But the way he acts as a Kaibara employee, uh, I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I think he's just a regular schmo like all the other tag people, whatever star people, whatever you call them,
The hunters,
whatever you
like the
don't call the lacking, or
or
you got lacking and then you got others. I
I
don't, I
don't know
don't know.
if there's been a term
They
for
don't really have a name. No,
yeah.
there isn't. There isn't.
Hmm.
But I don't want to call them normal.
No, right. I mean, the lacking are the normal ones, really.
Yeah, really though.
Yeah.
But I guess in this dystopia world, yeah,
Mm,
I guess they're normal. But anyway,
right.
um, yeah. So I don't know. He seems to maybe be suspicious of Abel. Not not entirely sure because he only because he notices Abel's picture in the security footage. So I don't know, but I guess in that case, I hope that blood is thicker than water.
Right.
But I have a feeling that when it comes to this guy, that may not be the case.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I thought it was funny that he let Fushi go without realizing it, and he realized it when it was just too late. He must feel so stupid.
That was a really funny moment, actually.
Yeah.
Uh, Almost kind of unexpected.
Yeah, right?
Just how comical it is. Let him go. Oh, don't you think that could be Fushi?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good point. Okay, don't let him go. Too late.
Sir, we just let him go.
Ah!
uh,
Pretty great.
but yeah, yeah. I still think like even though I hate this guy, I kind of love to hate him in this story. So I'm
Yes,
excited to see him. Well, yeah, to see what more he's got in this arc.
I agree. I agree.
But I guess that's all on him.
Yeah.
Are there any other minor characters you want to talk about?
Yeah. Just a couple I want to mention. So Tonari, she says, I've had enough pain for this week. Uh
Mm-hmm.
oh, don't say stuff like that. I I feel like the way this chapter ended, she's in for a lot more pain,
True.
potentially.
Right. I mean, precisely. And I'm sorry, but like what we saw Bon nearly go through at that place
Oh my
was
gosh.
horrifying. And, I
That
guess
is absolutely horrifying.
maybe she would have to go through something similar. I don't know.
Honestly, this kind of behavior, I mean, it reminds me of, those other dystopia movies where you have these higher beings that have taken over the world and they start experimenting on people, as if we're cattle or things like that.
Mm.
I always hated those kind of movies. I think they're so stupid. But but it also kind of reminds me of some of the knocker behavior in the previous arc where, all they just wanted to do was be violent and do whatever the heck they wanted and things like that. Um,
Right.
Kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
That's fair, yeah.
And then the funny thing from a different character, actually, Kanitaro, about his mommy. Dolly says, "Your mommy's kind of weird."
Mm.
Yeah, but she's very kind, and I
Yeah.
just thought that was sweet.
Very sweet. So sweet. I love that little panel between like when they said that.
Yeah,
Mm.
I just something something about March not having a child is just kind of sad, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel a little bitter about it. I don't know why, but maybe it would be strange for someone who's had a child to go back to a 5 year old body or however old March would be.
Right.
I don't know. But then again, all these people have lived full lives, so
It is strange because I mean I'm assuming because in this arc we're seeing Tonari and Kai in ages that we haven't seen them before,
hmm
and I don't know. I just spontaneously I would have thought that March would have wanted to be older than 4 years old or whatever she is,
hmm
and so I feel like Fushi like if she actually wanted that she could have had Fushi make her that when he brought her back into the world.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something that we're missing. Maybe she wants to be a child for whatever reason.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Part of me thought it could be that for some reason that's for March her default form, and so she'll age normally, but when she dies, that she just always goes back to that. Whether she
Hmm.
chooses that or not, I have no idea. But
No, but I think
um,
Fushi should be able to bring his friends back in any age, at any age.
he should absolutely he should.
Hmm.
But like you said, for some reason, March chooses to go back to that age,
Right.
to reset to that age.
Uh huh.
Um, I don't know.
It's interesting. But I still hold firm that, before the story's over, and probably rather close to the ending, we will see March become a real mother. And it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
Gosh, I hope so. I hope so. I think yeah. I think in some sort of epilogue or some ending thing, like yeah,
Mm,
we'll
mm.
we'll get to see that. However, this story decides to end,
Yeah.
I mean, that's far away.
This story could last for an eternity.
um, yeah. Honestly, I really have very little clue as to how she would tie a bow on a story like this. So
Right. Yeah.
I guess that's also kind of exciting to think about. But
Definitely.
anyway, the last thing I wanted to bring up is more kind of world building in a way.
Mm,
So this tree that they're in is called Old Tree Number 13.
yes.
How many other trees are there in the world? I mean, the world is supposedly the same size as our own. I guess we're just assuming that, but
Well, yeah, but it's still, I
uh,
think it's a fair assumption.
a fair assumption. And this is just number 13. I mean, for all we know, there could be thousands of them.
Yeah.
I mean, based on just how the population of the world. I mean, I don't know how many people are in each tree, but I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. And is this the only one that has connections to Kaibata headquarters, or is Kaibata headquarters just all around everywhere? I don't know.
Exactly. I wonder if Kaibara is literally around the entire world, or if it's just like a
Mm-hmm.
limited area, like over Yanome or over Yanome and a few other countries or something like that. And so the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
world is just normal?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even that would be interesting. Like the rest of the world is basically a lost paradise, or maybe not even lost paradise. Maybe or last paradise. Maybe it's uh more modern age.
I mean, precisely, yeah.
Although
I feel like that makes
it
sense.
has been what, how many?
500 years since the modern age, I think.
Yeah. So
So this is like the 2500s, I guess you could think of it as.
yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting to think about. I'm not entirely expecting us to explore that, but who knows? We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
There's this chip maintenance time that happens where everyone just shuts down,
Yeah.
like literally just drops frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like what are they fixing with the chips? Is it like Microsoft Windows update?
I guess like little updates here or there, or like making sure that they're not damaged, or I don't know, or at least that's what I imagine. And so they would just go around like maybe with scanners and scan every person, or like check everybody out,
Wow,
or
that would take a long
I
time.
don't
Well,
know. Yeah.
maybe they have technology to speed that up.
Oh yeah, maybe they have something they can do from like up in their
Yeah,
place and just scan everybody. They just need everybody to stand still. I don't know.
yeah, it's very interesting. And
Yeah,
then it
yeah.
doesn't even affect the 5 stars who clearly are using those chips, but it doesn't affect them.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why
Precisely.
did they get that special privilege? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it could be nothing going forward, and it was just a way for them to make a getaway like they did,
Right.
but time will tell.
Then let's talk about predictions next.
So I think that even though it may be maybe too obvious, I think that Dolly is somehow number 32. I think that
Mm,
somehow they're able to transfer number 32's consciousness into the doll. Why I don't know,
yeah.
but the the clones in the lab were able to do so. And I think you could still follow the truths that number 32 created her, and that number 32 is still alive, but Anton doesn't know where she is. And that's just a potentially cryptic way of saying that you're right in front of me, but you're not here. You're lost still, because your
Yeah.
memory's not here, and things like that. That's my that's my prediction for Dolly and number 32.
Yeah. But I mean, because we talked about basically exactly that last time as well, and
Yeah,
I I think this volume honestly got me a little bit away from that theory regarding Dolly.
understandable.
Um,
Understandable.
and and I think it is mostly as you were talking about Abel's comment about not knowing where she is, even though like he said he knows that she's still alive, but he doesn't know where she is. And yeah,
Hmm.
I guess one could read it the way you explained, but I don't know. I
Oh, I
feel
had to
like
do some gymnastics.
that precisely it does require that, and I don't know if I'm willing to do those gymnastics. Um, so I guess I'm definitely not ruling that possibility out. I'm for sure not, but I am I'm not as much for it as I was when we read volume 20.
Hmm.
I am really hoping though that the next volume will give some clarity on this, since it seems like it will go into Abel's backstory, obviously. And I think with that,
Yeah.
we'll also learn about, his relation to his friend, number 32. And with that should come something, at least, something more for Dolly as well. And if they're the same person, then for sure, well, something.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. I think the other thing that kind of pushed me in this direction is the memory of Abel getting back his glasses
Hmm.
that seemed to come from Dolly. Obviously, someone was holding Dolly when that happened, but who's to say that the person holding Dolly is not 32 and that it wasn't Dolly that was remembering it? It was Mizuha 32 that was actually remembering it or recalling it, or it's because of her that she has that. I don't know.
Hmm.
That was just a thought I had when I was putting predictions together and trying to support it.
Right, right.
Um, but it could easily be read, or it's probably meant to be read as uh, Dolly just having uh, consciousness and memory of that. But I don't know. She was being held like a doll. Just saying.
Mm, mm.
Since we're in that area,
Mm.
I'm predicting that Abel went on a field trip just like those kids that were about to torment Bone.
Ah,
Because I was wondering as we were reading it, other than the shock factor and kind of the hilariousness of it, I suppose, the dark humor. Why did we all of a sudden see these kids going on a field trip to this place? What was the point of that? And then we get the preview image of Abel, young Abel, getting introduced to a class,
yeah.
and so it just got me thinking, like, well, maybe he took a field trip to that area and somehow ran into one of the clones.
Yeah.
His glasses fell off, and she got it back to him. And I don't know how they became friends at that point. No idea, but my theory is that it was specifically number 32 that he ran into.
That's a really
So,
good possibility.
I mean, or at the very least, Dolly was there as it happened. I mean, we know that for a fact.
Yes.
So, whether it be the field trip that caused it or some other reason, that's my guess.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, yeah, so stoked. So stoked to get to know Abel. And having seen him smile now as he does on the last page of the volume, like last page of the last chapter here. I love that little smile.
That was pretty nice.
And like I feel like yeah, that's just like one small reason that or one of the many reasons, but this is a smaller reason, I guess, but that makes me excited to get to know this guy. But yeah, about the beholder's power and the whereabouts of it. They were talking about the like the little, or well, whether or not the beholder could have left a hint or a clue for them. And when they
Mm-hmm.
did, March pointed out the possibility of a message in an earthenware clay pot, but nobody seemed to really, or most of the others seemed to not really take that seriously. And I don't know, maybe March was literally, maybe she literally meant like he would have written it like on the side of the pot. Like maybe that's what she meant, but I read it
Oh,
like the information being stored in the pot as he has done before. That's probably what she meant because she's not an idiot.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that's a perfectly fine idea to consider and like at least worth giving a shot. But the fact that most of the others didn't really seem to take it seriously makes me think that it was a good idea. And there was even a little panel of Echo where she seemed to be the only one who took that idea seriously. And I think, and I hope that Echo can read something out of a clay pot or something, and get some type of hidden message there, because it's been established long ago that one of the few ways to like pass along information without knockers knowing is through the clay pot communication from the earthenware people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we haven't seen it used all that much. And I think this is a pretty clever way to well, to for the beholder to give such a clue.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt that part of the chapter was a little vague. Not what March said, but more so everyone's reaction,
Right.
because Echo just kind of looks like almost like she doesn't know what they're talking about. Because there's that question mark, and she kind of doesn't have much of an expression on her face.
Yeah. But she has a little smirk.
I, I,
Or
I
this
don't know.
looks
Like
like that to me.
I don't know what that is, to be honest. Like, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a smile, a smirk, or whatever, but it's not like, oh, I know exactly what, or anything, because there's literally a question mark
Yeah.
after the ellipses.
True. True. Like yeah, that's fair.
And I think if she knew something, there would have been more of a reaction.
Yeah, I don't think Echo knows anything yet, but I think March gave her the idea to try to search for answers in clay pots, maybe.
Yeah, well, and I hope that's the case. But to me, it didn't seem uh, that it was there was much of anything there. And so I hope that I really do hope that is the case, that we see the secret pass through a clay pot somewhere, and Echo's able to tell everyone about that. So
Yeah.
that'd be a great way, because we both thought Echo kind of has played a background role, and her people haven't really got as much backstory as we would have liked. Um,
Right.
and previous volume was nice. Like, she played more of a role, more so than she had in a while.
Hmm.
Um, but it would be great to see more.
Sure would. And yeah, another thing, while it does feel mostly obviously like the body altering powers and the agelessness and all that in the people with tag chips, that it comes from the knocker inside of them. And I believe that is the case. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very certain that it's the knockers causing all of that or giving the people all of those abilities or powers or whatever you want to call it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's still a small part of me that could see, well, I was talking last time about the beholder's power. Like, if Kyber already had found like some small part of the beholder's power and used that to some degree,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't seem too likely. But there was one little part in this volume that kind of brought me back to that thinking, and it was when Fushi teleported in this volume, and Kanitaro said, "Yikes, he vanished," just like those 5-star people.
Mm-hmm.
Knocker powers alone shouldn't be able to make people teleport, right?
Mm.
Or at least I don't see how. And that got me thinking that what if there's something more than knockers?
Well, no, I think they can, because I'm pretty sure there was battles where if knockers were all connected to each other, they could transport from one place to the next. I'm thinking of Renreal.
Okay.
Uh, After all the catapults and everything, like there was I I think it was one of them had controlled Echo and was able to, I guess I wouldn't call it teleport, but able to manipulate the body to move in certain ways.
Right. But like physically teleporting?
Well, we've had a lot of pretty crazy things happen in this arc since. things that maybe we wouldn't have expected knockers to be able to do.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that true, true. And I get and in this volume we saw Anton go in like tiny size, which
Yeah,
obviously could look like teleportation. Like
that's a good point.
so I guess.
Although I don't know how it'd be beneficial for a 5 star in like
Oh yeah.
teleportation thing. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know, but it's still though. I guess it's fair to consider that yeah, maybe the knockers have abilities that we just don't quite understand or know. So yeah, and as I said, like it makes the most sense for it to just be knocker powers straight up. But it was just that part kind of I got a little hung up on. um, but
Mm,
yeah, it could probably still make sense with knockers.
yeah. No, that part definitely got me thinking a little bit as well. But um, yeah. I mean, I imagine there has to have been some sort of increase in the knockers' abilities,
Hmm.
maybe even beyond the molecular level. I have no idea.
Right.
You know, you bring a good point. Could they have found a piece of um, the beholder? But I don't know. I feel like it'd be strange just to have a little bit of a little piece, and not
Hmm.
the whole thing
Right.
already.
Yeah, that you're right. That is a bit strange. Unless it's somehow scattered into pieces
Yeah.
like the Triforce in Zelda usually
Right.
does.
Like a good RPG. You gotta go to 7 dungeons to find to
Yeah,
collect them all and find all the pieces.
exactly.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
I mean it's very interesting.
Yeah. My last thing is really just a question in terms for like speculation and whatnot. And well, I guess the question could lead to speculation.
Mm-hmm.
It's well. So we know that there's a bunch of Mizuha clones, or at least there have been. I guess we don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
uh, and some of the clones seem to work at Kaibara and whatnot. And I wonder who could the leader of Kaibara be? Who's the big bad?
Yeah.
Is that also a Mizuha clone,
I don't know.
or is it something entirely different?
I want to expect it's, one of the knockers from the previous arc, particularly the one that was controlling I believe it was Mizuha's dad? Is that the one that was?
Oh yeah, that's right. That was a special knocker too.
He was saying something about, you won this battle, we'll be back, or something along those lines.
Yeah, that
I think I even had speculation about him being able to foresee the future, or knowing what's going to happen next, or some sort of strange foresight like that.
yeah, we talked about that because he expressed himself in a certain way that made it almost sound like he knew what was to come.
Yeah, it was a little,
Mm,
yeah,
right.
yeah. Uh,
True.
but I don't know. But regardless, I think that could end up being the one who's controlling everything.
That makes sense. Another idea that I just got just now, really random, probably doesn't hold any water, but what if they made like a Hayase clone?
Yeah, I wonder.
But I don't know. I don't know. And if her Phi would have continued into her actual body, although a clone of it, but still literally the same.
Uh huh.
So like Hayase would be revived in like basically. That could be interesting. If this is the final arc, I think it would be especially fitting.
Yeah, yeah. Bringing Hayase back in that way. Yeah, that would be.
Like literally
You would
Hayase.
think if in Yeah, right. You would think in that case though that they'd be more adamant in capturing Fushi and not letting him do his own thing. Um, but I guess if they're going after the power instead,
Mm.
where does Hayase's obsession truly lie? Is it with Fushi, or is it with the the potential power of Fushi? Um,
She just wants to have his child, I guess.
yeah, I mean, true, and she would call that love. Um,
Mm.
but she also wanted to be part of the reason why she wanted the child, or at least how it started off, I think, was because she wanted to have that power, um, have that control, I believe,
That
or
yeah,
that
probably.
that prestige.
Right.
But I am wondering once again why there are all these Mizuha clones, and I think uh, you said a very good possibility and speculation that maybe we had already had in the previous discussion, that maybe they are trying to clone the perfect Mizuha in order to get back the correct Phi, because Mizuha never had children,
Right.
uh, or because the cycle was broken, or whatever, as we had speculated before.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it's entirely clear yet why they have all these clones. Besides
Hmm.
Guardians being obsessed with Hayase's bloodline.
Yeah, right. No, but it's very interesting, and I'm very stoked to find out. There's so many questions, and I love that. I love having all these questions, and
I do really love that. Oh gosh, it's pretty great.
so
A
great.
couple more things from me.
Hmm?
Um, I guess I'll expound on something that I feel will happen much later on in the story. Um, Anton will have a redemption arc in the later half of the arc.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I like that.
he might harm or kill his brother,
Oof. Oh yeah.
and that causes him to change. And it may even be that he gets his tag taken away at some point, or maybe he willingly gives it up. That'd be
Right.
even cooler. And maybe he decides to join forces with his brother, so that, something causes him to change, and he decides to join him. But however it goes down, I do think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
He's just such a prime target for something like that to happen, and
Yeah.
it'd be great to see that.
But plus, I don't think this is that type of story that would make an 8-year-old child into like an everlasting villain or whatever you want to say. Like,
Yeah,
there's gonna be a redeeming factor to him in some way.
yeah. I feel like there's gonna be a learning moment. Has to be.
Hmm.
There has to be. And then lastly is more so what happened pretty soon in the next volume, regarding Anton and Tonari. So Anton mentions that he has something to do after this, and that if he doesn't get to it, they'll be pretty mad at him, or something like that.
Yeah.
When I first read that, to me it sounded like not really a friend, but either he was meeting an adult, or maybe it was a lady friend of
Mm.
some kind. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Odd, but I guess he's trying to play an adult, whatever. But then I saw the page right before the final couple panels. You see Bong gagged, you see Tonari lying there, and then you see the rest of the immortals with Fushi. In Tonari's panel, you have some sort of creepy figure in the background.
Oh
And when
yeah.
I first read that, I thought it was just some random doctor that was going to do some sketchy experiments or whatever.
Oh,
But I'm pretty sure that's Anton.
you're right. You're right. Cause yeah,
That's totally
that is.
Anton.
Oh no. Oh no.
The glasses, and then, or the goggles, I guess. And then in the preview, you see Anton with a creepy face on, and then you see Tonari about to get a needle stuck in her.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, if that field trip was any indication of how they teach kids how to treat people, I'm
Yeah.
very scared for what Anton is thinking of doing. You
Oh.
make me feel funny. I'm going to hurt you to understand. I
Ugh.
I don't know. So that's kind of my worry, and I hope Fushi will come and save the day
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
pretty soon.
Yeah, that's really disturbing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Great. Yeah, same as far as predictions go. Well, I guess before we end the episode, I'd just like to say a few things regarding the year that's passed. I think 2024 has been a fun year for Umami manga. There's been quite a lot happening. We caught up with the physical releases of Jujutsu Kaisen early on in the year.
Mm.
And we started covering A Bright Story on the podcast, which I think we've both really been enjoying.
Yeah.
We also did a one-shot discussion on Solanine, which was a blast.
Ah, yes.
And
that was fun.
and of course we finished covering Kaguya-sama Love is War earlier this year as well. Our first finished manga on this podcast. And obviously that was also the first one that we ever or that we started on Umami Manga. So that was pretty big. And so I think, yeah, this has been an eventful year in that regard. The only thing that's kind of sad about 2024 is that there was no Vinland Saga for us to cover at all throughout all of this year.
It's been so long.
Yeah. But as far as like expectations for next year, I think we'll get a new Vinland Saga book to cover, possibly in like May or June.
Gosh, it's so long.
Seems to be the case. So at least we'll have Vinland Saga next year.
Yeah, at least next year.
Yeah. I also think at some point during next year we'll also probably catch up with A Bright Story. So we'll be caught up with those.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe we'll start something else. I don't know.
Seriously, we don't know.
We do not know. We have no plans yet.
No idea. Yeah, I mean, we already know of a few of our series that are ending.
Right.
But fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, the English volumes are a bit behind.
Yeah.
And so there's really no indication that we'll get to the next year. If anything, I don't think we'll see the ending of some of them. Well, them being Jujutsu Kaisen and Oshinoko.
Right.
Correct me if you remember.
No, I think it's just those two that are specifically
Just those two.
Specifically actually over in Japan.
Right. We're so far behind them with the English volumes that, particularly Oshinoko, we may not get that for a few more years.
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen, we probably could get that in 2026.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I think that's definitely a possibility. But yeah, next year I don't think we'll be ending any mangas.
Yeah.
Here. But yeah, as far as To Your Eternity goes, I think we can expect 2 new volumes during 2025.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
It's not an incredibly fast pace, but the volumes are thick-ish. And she seems to be pumping them out relatively regularly.
Right.
So excited for this arc and to continue to reading it, as you could probably tell by this discussion.
Yes, we're so excited. And Happy New Year to all of our lovely, lovely listeners.
Happy New Year. May 2025 be even better than the previous year.
I sure hope so. But yeah, I suppose that's all for this year.
Yep.
Great. Then, if you enjoy our podcast, please share it with your friends. You'll find links to our social media in the description. And you can support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 22. Bye-bye!
Lacking her people too. See you later!
Poor Lacking.
Such a sad concept in terms of dystopian futures where regular birth is deemed, I guess, taboo or at least frowned upon.
Yeah. Thank God for Hayase, who wanted to make real babies.
Yeah, no, she can't be the president of Kaibana. She'd just be like, what is this, cloning? No.
True.
No. We're doing it the old-fashioned way.